Now you can relive a good time over and over again. See it, big as life in full color slides. The newest, smartest way to take color slides is with a stylish Kodak Signet 40 camera. You'll wear it proudly, everywhere you go. Just aim.
Kodak is an American public company that produces various products related to its historic basis in analog photography. The company was founded on May 23, 1892 by George Eastman and Henry A. Strong, but over the past couple of years, Kodak went from being at the top of the market to at the bottom of the market. So, what went wrong? Is it really game over for Kodak? Well, let's find out. Name. The letter K was a favorite of Eastman's. He is quoted as saying, "It seems a strong, incisive sort of letter." He and his mother Maria devised the name Kodak using an anagram set. Eastman said that there were three principal concepts he used in creating the name. It should be short, easy to pronounce, and not resemble any other name to be associated with anything else. According to a 1920 ad, the name was simply invented, made up from letters of the alphabet to meet our trademark requirements. It was short and euphonious and likely to stick in the public mind. Beginning and strategy. From the company's founding by George Eastman in 1888, Kodak followed the razor and blades business model of selling inexpensive cameras and making large margins from consumables, film, chemicals, and paper. As late as 1976, Kodak commanded 90% of film sales and 85% of camera sales in the US. Kodak developed and patented the first handheld digital camera in 1975, Kodak Camera 1888. Kodak began selling its original camera created by George Eastman in 1888 in the US for $25. It was a leather-covered box camera that came preloaded with 100 exposure roll film. When used up, the entire camera could be sent to the Kodak factory after it would be returned loaded with fresh film along with the negatives and mounted prints for a cost of $10. It was advertised with the slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest." Replacement film was sold for $2 for customers who had access to photographic processing. The ease of use and relatively low cost made photography widely accessible to the general public rather than only professional photographers, beginning the modern era of consumer photography. Characteristics. The Kodak was a camera box built in the shape of a parallel pipe with a fixed focus lens on the front and no viewfinder. Two V-shaped silhouettes at the top aided in aiming in the direction of the subject. At the top, it had a rotating key to advance the film, a pull string to set the shutter, and a button on the side to release it, exposing the celluloid film. Inside, it had a rotating bar. This bar was soon replaced by a simpler mechanism due to its manufacturing price to operate the shutter. When the user pressed the button to take a photograph, an inner rope was tightened and the photographic exposure began. Once the photograph had been taken, the user had to rotate the upper key to change the selected frame within the celluloid tape. Rivalry with Fujifilm. Japanese competitor Fujifilm entered the US market via Fuji Photo Film USA with lower-priced film and supplies, but Kodak did not believe that American consumers would ever desert its brand. Kodak declined an opportunity to become the official film of the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. Fuji won these sponsorship rights, which gave it a permanent foothold in the market. Fuji opened a film plant in the US, and its aggressive marketing and price cutting began taking market share from Kodak. Fuji went from a 10% share in the early 1990s to 17% in 1997. Fuji also made headway into the professional market with specialty transparency films such as Velvia and Provia, which competed successfully with Kodak's signature professional product, Kodachrome, but used more economical and common E6 processing machines, which were standard in most processing labs, rather than the dedicated machines required by Kodachrome. Fuji's films soon also found a competitive edge in higher speed negative films with a tighter grain structure. In May 1995, Kodak filed a petition with the U.S. Commerce Department under Section 301 of the Commerce Act, arguing that its poor performance in the Japanese market was a direct result of unfair practices adopted by Fuji. The complaint was lodged by the United States with the World Trade Organization. On January 30th, 1998, the WTO announced a sweeping rejection of Kodak's complaints about the film market in Japan. Kodak's financial results for the year ending December 1997 showed that company's revenues dropped from $15.97 billion in 1996 to $14.36 billion in 1997, a fall more than 10%. Its net earnings went from $1.29 billion to just $5 million for the same period. Kodak's market share declined from 80.1% to 74.7% in the United States, a one-year drop of 5 percentage points that had observers suggesting that Kodak was slow to react to changes and underestimated its rivals. Although from the 1970s both Fuji and Kodak recognized the upcoming threat of digital photography, and although both thought diversification as a migration strategy, Fuji was more successful at diversification. Shift to digital. Although Kodak developed the first handheld digital camera in 1975, the product was dropped for fear it would threaten Kodak's main income, its photographic film business. In the 1990s, Kodak planned a decade-long journey to move to digital technology. CEO George M.C. Fisher reached out to Microsoft and other new consumer merchandisers. Apple's pioneering quick-take consumer digital cameras, introduced in 1994, had the Apple label but were produced by Kodak. The DC-20 and DC-25 launched in 1996. Overall, though there was little implementation of the new digital strategy, Kodak's core business faced no pressure from competing technologies, and as Kodak executives could not imagine a world without traditional film, there was little incentive to deviate from that course. Consumers gradually switched to the digital offering from companies such as Sony. In 2001, film sales dropped, which was attributed by Kodak to the financial shocks caused by the September 11th attacks. Executives hoped that Kodak might be able to slow the shift to digital through aggressive marketing. Under Daniel Karp, Fisher's successor as CEO, Kodak made its move in the digital camera market with its EasyShare family of digital cameras. Kodak spent tremendous resources studying customer behavior, finding out that women in particular loved taking digital photos but were frustrated in moving them to their computers. This key unmet consumer need became a major opportunity. Once Kodak got its product development machine started, it released a wide range of products which made it easy to share photos via PCs. One of their key innovations was a printer dock, where consumers could insert their cameras into this compact device, press a button, and watch their photos roll out. By 2005, Kodak ranked number 1 in the US in digital camera sales that surged 48% to $5.7 billion. Despite the high growth, Kodak failed to anticipate how fast digital cameras became commodities with low profit margins as more companies entered the market in the mid-2000s. In 2001, Kodak held the number 2 spot in US digital camera sales behind Sony, but it lost $60 on every camera sold. While there was also a dispute between employees, from its digital and film divisions. The film business, where Kodak enjoyed high profit margins, fell 18% in 2005. The combination of these two factors resulted in disappointing profits overall. Its digital cameras soon became undercut by Asian competitors that could produce their offerings more cheaply. Kodak had a 27% market-leading share in 1999 that dropped to 15% by 2003. In 2007, Kodak was number 4 in U.S. digital camera sales with a 9.6% share, and by 2010, it held 7% in 7th place behind Canon, Sony, Nikon, and others, according to research firm IDC. Also, an even smaller percentage of digital pictures were being taken on dedicated digital cameras, being gradually displaced in the late 2000s by cameras on cell phones, smartphones, and tablets. New strategy. Kodak then began a strategy shift. While Kodak had previously done everything in-house, CEO Antonio Perez shut down film factories and eliminated 27,000 jobs as it outsourced its manufacturing. Perez invested heavily in digital technologies and new services that capitalized on its technology innovation to boost profit margins. He also spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build up a high-margin printer ink business to replace falling film sales. Kodak's ink strategy rejected the razor and blades business model used by dominant market leader Hewlett-Packard. In the Kodak's printers were expensive, but the ink was cheaper. As of 2011, these new lines of inkjet printers were said to be on the verge of turning a profit, although some analysts were skeptical as printouts had been replaced gradually by electronic copies on computers, tablets, and smartphones. Home photograph printers, high-speed commercial inkjet pressers, workflow software, and packaging were viewed as the company's new core business, with sales from those four businesses projected to double to nearly $2 billion in revenue in 2013 and account for 25% of all sales. However, while Kodak named home printers as a core business as late as August 2012, at the end of September, declining sales forced Kodak to announce an exit from the consumer inkjet market. Kodak has also turned to litigation to generate revenue. In 2010, it received $838 million from patent licensing that included a settlement with LG. In 2010, Apple filed a patent infringement claim against Kodak. On May 12, 2011, Judge Robert Rogers rejected Apple's claims that two of its digital photography patents were being violated by Kodak. On July 1, 2011, the U.S. International Trade Commission partially reversed a January decision by an administrative law judge stating that neither Apple nor Research in Motion had infringed upon Kodak's patents. The ITC remanded the matter for further proceedings before the ALJ bankruptcy. In 2011, despite the turnaround progress, Kodak rapidly used up its cash reserves, stoking fears of bankruptcy. It had $957 million in cash in June 2011, down to $1.6 billion in January 2001. In 2011, Kodak reportedly explored selling off or licensing its vast portfolio of patents to stave off bankruptcy. By January 2012, analysts suggested that the company could enter bankruptcy, followed by an auction of its patents, as it was reported to be in talks with Citigroup to provide debtor-in-possession financing. This was confirmed on January 19, 2012, and the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection and obtained a $950 million 18-month credit facility from Citigroup to enable it to continue operations. Under the terms of its bankruptcy protection, Kodak had a deadline of February 15, 2013 to produce a reorganization plan. In April 2013, Kodak showed its first Micro Four Thirds camera to be manufactured by JK Imaging. On September 3, 2013, Kodak announced that it emerged from bankruptcy as a technology company focused on imaging for business. Its main business segments are digital printing and enterprise and graphics, entertainment and commercial films. On March 12, 2014, Kodak announced that Jeffrey J. Clark had been named as Chief Executive Officer and a member of its board of directors. On January 1st, 2015, Kodak announced a new 5-business division structure: Print Systems, Enterprise Inkjet Systems, Micro 3D Printing and Packaging, Software and Solutions, and Consumer and Film. Timeline: 1880 to 98. 1880, George Eastman leased the 3rd floor of a building on State Street in Rochester, New York, and began the commercial manufacture of dry plates. January 1st, 1881, Eastman and business Henry A. Strong formed a partnership called the Eastman Dry Plate Company. Eastman resigned his position at Rochester Savings Bank to work on full-time at the Eastman Dry Plate Company. 1884, the Eastman-Strong partnership was dissolved, and the Eastman Dry Plate Company and Film Company formed with 14 share owners. The Eastman Dry Plate Company was responsible for the first cameras suitable for non-expert use. 1885, George Eastman bought David Houston's patents for roll film and developed them further. These were the basis for the invention of motion picture film as used by early filmmakers and Thomas Edison. September 4th, 1888, Eastman registered the trademark for Kodak. 1888, the first model of the Kodak camera appeared. It took round pictures, 6.4 centimeters, 2.5 inches in diameter, was the fixed focus type, and carried a roll of film enough for 100 exposures. Its invention was marked the advent of amateur photography, as before that time both apparatus and processes were too burdensome to classify photography as recuration. The roll film used in the first model of the Kodak camera had a paper base but soon was superseded by a film with no cellulose base, a practical, transparent, flexible film. The films had to be loaded into the camera and unloaded in the darkroom, but the film cartridge system, with its protecting strip of opaque paper, made it possible to load and unload the camera in ordinary light. The Kodak Developing Machine 1900 and its simplified successor, the Kodak Film Tank, provided the means for daylight development of film, making the darkroom unnecessary for any of the operations of amateur photography. The earlier types of the Kodak cameras were of the box form and of fixed focus, and as various sizes were added, devices for focusing the lenses were incorporated. 1889, the Eastman Company was formed. 1891, opens its first facility outside the U.S. in Harrow, England, Kodak Harrow. In 1891, George Eastman began to produce a second line of cameras, the ordinary range. 1892, it was renamed the Eastman Kodak Company in 1892. Eastman Kodak Company of New York was organized. He coined the advertising slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest." The Kodak Company thereby attained its name from the first simple roll film cameras produced by Eastman Dry Plate Company, known as the Kodak, and its product line. Early 1890s, the first folding Kodak cameras were introduced. These were equipped with folding bellows that permitted much greater compactness. 1895, the first pocket Kodak camera, the $5 pocket Kodak, was introduced. It was of the box form, type slipping easily into an ordinary coat pocket and producing negatives 1/2 by 2 inches. 1897, the first fold-in pocket Kodak camera was introduced and was mentioned in the novel Dracula, published the same year. 1898, George Eastman purchased the patent for Velox photographic paper from Leo Baekeland for $1 million. After this time, Velox paper was then sold by Eastman Kodak, 1900 to 1999. 1900, the Brownie camera was introduced, curating a new mass market for photography. 1901, the present company Eastman Kodak Company of New Jersey was formed under the laws of that state. Eventually, the business in Jamestown was moved in its entirety to Rochester, and the plans in Jamestown were demolished. 1908, Kodak acquires the exclusive right to supply film stock for the MPPC Cardinal. A similar attempt to secure an arrangement for European producers at the Paris Film Congress the following year falls through when French courts rule it illegal. By 1920, an autographic feature provided a means for recording data on the margin of the negative at the time of exposure. This feature was applied on all Kodak cameras with the exception of a box camera designed for making panoramic pictures and was discontinued in 1932. 1920, Tennessee Eastman was founded as a wholly owned subsidiary. The company's primary purpose was the manufacture of chemicals such as acetylus needed for Kodak's film photography products. 1930, Eastman Kodak Company was added to the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index on July 18, 1930. The company remained listed as one of the DJIA companies for the next 74 years, ending in 2004. 1932, George Eastman dies at age 77 on March 14, 1932, taking his own life with a gunshot. The suicide note he leaves behind reads, "To my friends, my work is done. Why wait?" 1935, Kodak introduced Kodachroma color reversal stock for movie and side film. 1936, Kodak branches out into manufacture of hand grenades. 1940 to 1944, Eastman Kodak ranked 62nd among United States corporations in the value of World War II military production contracts. 1945, Kodak researchers discover the first ever detonation of an atomic bomb in New Mexico because of a radioactive containment that was encountered in strawboard material used by Eastman Kodak Company for packaging photographic sensitive films. 1934 to 1956, Kodak introduces the Retina series 35mm camera. 1958, Kodak releases an adhesive called Eastman number 910. To the public, it is known as superglue. 1959, Kodak introduced the Starmatic camera, the first automatic Brownie camera, which sold 10 million units over the next 5 years. 1963, Kodak introduced Instamatic camera. The Instamatic camera, an inexpensive, easy-to-load, print-and-shoot camera. 1970, Kodak scientists disclosed the continuous wave tunable dye laser. This became a product for several high-tech companies, but not at Kodak. 1975, Steven Stasson, then an electrical engineer at Kodak, invented a digital camera. 1976, the Bayer pattern color filter array, CFA, was invented by Eastman Kodak researcher Bryce Bayer. The order in which dyes are placed on an image sensor photosite is still in use today. The basic technology is still the most commonly used of its kind to date. 1976, Kodak introduced the first Kodamatic instant picture cameras using a similar film and technology to that one of the Polaroid company. 1976, the company sold 90% of the photographic film in the U.S. along with 85% of the cameras, as well as Kodak introducing a new president to the company named Robert Moyer. Robert Moyer stayed on the board as a chairman until 1989. 1978, Kodak introduces the Ectomechanic Clinical Chemistry Testing System. The system employs dry film technology and within 5 years was being used by most hospitals in the country. 1981, Kodak was sued by Polaroid for infringement of its instant picture patents. The suit ran for 5 years, the court finally finding in favor of Polaroid in 1986. In 1982, Kodak launched the Kodak disc film format for consumer cameras. The format was ultimately proved unpopular and was later discontinued. 1986, Kodak scientists created the world's first megapixel sensor capable of recording 1.4 million pixels and producing a photo quality 12.5 centimeters by 17.5 centimeters, 4.9 inches by 6.9 inches print. 1987, Ching W. Tang, a senior research associate, and his colleague Stephen Van Slyke developed the first multi-layer OLEDs at the Kodak Research Laboratories, for which he later became a Fellow of the Society for Information Display SID. 1988, Kodak buys Sterling Drug for $5.1 billion. 1988, Kodak scientists introduced the Corman tetracimyl laser dyes, also used in OLED devices. These became a successful product until the line of the fine chemicals is sold. 1991, the Kodak Professional Digital Camera System, or DCS, was the first commercially available digital single-lens reflex DSLR camera. A customized camera back bearing the digital image sensor was mounted on a Nikon F3 body and released by Kodak in May. The company had previously shown the camera at Photokina in 1990. 1993, Eastman Chemical, a Kodak subsidiary founded by George Eastman in 1920 to supply Kodak's chemical needs, was spun off as a separate corporation. Eastman Chemical became a Fortune 500 company in its own right. 1994, Apple QuickTake, a consumer digital camera, was debuted by Apple Computer. Some models were manufactured by Kodak. 2000 to 2009. 2003, Kodak introduced the Kodak EasyShare LS633 digital camera, the first camera to feature an AMOLED display, and the Kodak EasyShare printer Dock 6000 was the world's first printer and camera dock combination. November 2003, Kodak acquired the Israel-based company Algotech Systems, a developer of advanced picture archiving and communication systems, PACS, which enable radiology departments to digitally manage and store medical images and information. January 2004, Kodak announced that it would stop selling traditional film cameras in Europe and North America and cut up to 15,000 jobs, around a fifth of its total workforce at the time. April 8, 2004, Kodak was delisted from Dow Jones Industrial Average Index, having been a constituent for 74 consecutive years. May 2004, Kodak signed an exclusive long-term agreement with Lexar Media, licensing that Kodak brand for use on digital memory cards designed, manufactured, sold, and distributed by Lexar. January 2005, the Kodak EasyShare 1 digital camera, the world's first Wi-Fi consumer digital camera capable of sending pictures by email, was unveiled at the 2005 CES. January 2005, Kodak acquired the Israel-based company Orex Computed Radiography, a provider of compact computed radiology systems that enable medical practitioners to acquire patient X-ray images digitally. January 2005, Kodak acquired the Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada-based company Hero. January 2006, Kodak unveiled the Kodak EasyShare V570 dual-lens digital camera, the world's first dual-lens digital still camera and smallest ultra-wide angle optical zoom digital camera at the CES. Using proprietary Kodak Retina dual-lens technology, the V570 wrapped an ultra-wide angle lens, 23mm, and a second optical zoom lens, 39 to 117mm, into a body less than 2.5 centimeters an inch thick. April 2006, Kodak introduced the Kodak EasyShare V610 dual lens digital camera. At that time, the world's smallest 10 by 38 to 380 millimeter optical zoom camera lens, less than 2.5 centimeters an inch thick. August 1st, 2006, Kodak agreed to divest its digital camera manufacturing operations to Flextronics, including assembly, production, and testing. As part of the sale, it was agreed that Flextronics would manufacture and distribute consumer digital cameras for Kodak and conduct some design and development functions for it. Kodak kept high-level digital camera design in-house, continued to conduct research and development in digital still cameras, and retained all intellectual property and patents. Approximately 550 Kodak personnel transferred to Flextronics. January 10, 2007, Kodak agreed to sell Kodak Health Group to Onyx Corporation for $2.35 billion in cash and up to $200 million in additional future payments if Onyx achieved specified returns on the acquisition. The sale was completed on May 1st. Kodak used part of the proceeds to fully repay its approximately $1.15 billion of secured term debt. Around 8,100 employees transferred to Onyx, and Kodak Health Group was renamed Parastream Health. Kodak Health Group had revenue of $2.54 billion for the 12 months to September 30th, 2006. April 19th, 2007, Kodak announced an agreement to sell its light management films business, which produced films designed to improve the brightness and efficiency of liquid crystal displays, to Rome and Haas. The divested business comprised 125 workers. As part of the transaction, Rome and Haas agreed to license technology and purchase equipment from Kodak and lease building 318 at Kodak Park. The sale price was not disclosed. May 5th, 2007, Kodak announced a cross-licensing agreement with Cheimei Optoelectronics and its affiliate CMEL, enabling CMEL to use Kodak technology for active matrix OLED modules in a variety of small to medium-sized display applications. June 14, 2007, Kodak announced a 2-4-fold increase in sensitivity to light from 1 to 2 stops compared to current sensor designs. This design was a departure from the classic Bayer filter by adding panochromatic or clear pixels to RGB elements on the sensor array. Since these pixels are sensitive to all wavelengths of visible light, they collect a significantly higher proportion of the light striking the sensor. In combination with advanced Kodak software algorithms optimized for these new patterns, photographers benefited from an increase in photographic speed, improving performance in low light, faster shutter speeds, reducing motion blur for moving subjects, and smaller pixels, higher resolutions in a given optical format while retaining performance. The technology was credited for Kodak scientists John Compton and John Hamilton. September 4th, 2007, Kodak announced a 5-year extension of its partnership with Lexar Media. November 2008, Kodak released the Kodak Theater HD player, allowing photos and videos stored on a computer to be displayed on an HD TV. Kodak licensed technology from Hillcrest Labs for the interface and pointer, which allowed a user to control the player with gestures. January 2009, Kodak posted a $137 million fourth quarter loss and announced plans to cut up to 4,500 jobs. On June 22, 2009, Kodak announced that it would cease selling Kodachrome color film by the end of 2009, ending 74 years of production after dramatic decline in sales. This went along with Kodak ceasing operation of the division of Qualix that did film development and for retail and commercial customers. December 4th, 2009, Kodak sold its organic light emitting deloyed OLED business unit to LG Electronics, resulting in the layoff of 60 people. 2010 to 2019. December 2010, Standard & Poor's removed Kodak from its S&P 500 index. September 2011, Kodak hired law firm Jones Day for restructuring advice, and its stock dropped to an all-time low of 54 cents a share. During 2011, Kodak shares fell more than 80%. January 2012, Kodak received a warning from the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, notifying that it had an average closing price was below $1 for 30 consecutive days, and that over the next 6 months it must increase the closing share price to at least $1 on the last trading day of each calendar month, and have an average closing price of at least $1 over 30 trading days prior, or it would be delisted. From the $90 range in 1997, Kodak shares closed at 76 cents on January 3rd, 2012. On January 8th, 2012, Kodak shares closed over 50% higher after the company announced a major restructuring into two main divisions, one focused on products and services for businesses, and the other on consumer products including digital cameras. January 19, 2012, Kodak filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company's stock was delisted from NYSE and moved to OTC Exchange. Following the news, it ended the day trading down 35% at 36 cents a share. February 7, 2012, the Image Sensor Solutions ISS division of Kodak was sold to TrueSense Imaging Incorporated. February 9, 2012, Kodak announced that it would exit the digital image capture business, phasing out its production of digital cameras. Kodak sees home photo printers, high-speed commercial inkjet presses, workflow software, and packaging with Global Vision software integrated as the core of its future business. Once the digital camera business is phased out, Kodak said its consumer business will focus on printing. It will seek a company to license its EasyShare digital camera brand. August 24, 2012, Kodak announced that it plans to sell its film, commercial scanner, and kiosk divisions. September 10, 2012, Kodak announced plans to cut another 1,000 jobs by the end of 2012, and that it is examining further job cuts as it works to restructure its business in bankruptcy. September 28, 2012, Kodak announced that it is exiting the inkjet printer business. December 20th, 2012, Kodak announced that it plans to sell its digital imaging patents for about $525 million to some of the world's biggest technology companies, thus making a step to end bankruptcy. April 29, 2013, Kodak announced an agreement with the UK Kodak Pension Plan (KPP) to spin off Kodak's personalized imaging and document imaging businesses and settle $2.8 billion in KPP claims. September 3rd, 2013, Kodak announces that it has emerged from Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection as a company focused on serving commercial customers. October 17, 2013, Kodak brings European headquarters and the entire EAMER Technology Center under one roof of Eistens, Switzerland. The relocation brings together the company's European headquarters and inkjet demo facilities, which were based in Gland, Switzerland, and the Kodak EAMER Technology and Solutions Center, which was based in La Hoppe, Belgium. March 12, 2014, Kodak names Jeffrey J. Clark as its new chief executive officer. July 30th, 2014, Kodak is negotiating the movie studios for an annual movie film order guarantee to preserve the last source of movie film manufacturing in the United States. December 2014, Kodak announced its first phone, the Kodak Ektra smartphone made by Built It Group. The phone was expected to become available in December 2016, initially in Europe. January 2016, Kodak shows off a prototype of the new Super 8 camera at CES. January 2017, Kodak announced it was bringing back its Ektra Chrome film. May 2017, Kodak released the Extra smartphone to the US market. June 2017, Kodak announced plans to release 7-inch and 10-inch tablets with Arcos in Europe. January 2018, Kodak announced plans to launch Kodak Coin, a photographer-oriented blockchain cryptocurrency. Kodak. September 2018, Kodak announced that the 135 and Super 8 format of Ektachrome is available again, with 16mm available later. 2020 to present. July 28, 2020, the Trump administration announced that it planned to give Kodak a $765 million loan for manufacturing ingredients used in pharmaceuticals to rebuild the national stockpile depleted by the COVID-19 pandemic and reduce dependency on foreign factories. The funding would come through U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, a government agency with international mandate. Within 2 days, the company's stock price had gained as much as 2,189% from its price at the close of July 27th on the NYSE. The New York Times stopped reported that one day before the White House announced the loan, Kodak CEO Jim Constanza was given 1.75 million stock options, some of which he was able to execute immediately. The funding was put on hold as the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission began probing allegations of insider trading by Kodak executives ahead of the deal's announcement, and the funding agency's Inspector General announced scrutiny into the loan terms. In 2021, Kodak removed a post from its Instagram feed that showed a photo of Inkjiang and made references to the Chinese government's genocide against the Uyghurs. It was removed after Chinese social media users criticized Kodak. And there's the history of Kodak. So, what went wrong with Kodak? How did they come from being at the top of the market to the very bottom of the market? Well, when Fujifilm entered the US, that's where things started to become complicated, as Fujifilm and other competitors were basically making their cameras a lot more durable than Kodak's, and on top of that, Kodak thought that people in the U.S. would not really leave Kodak. They thought they thought U.S. customers would continue to use and buy Kodak products, but it turns out they were wrong, as many people would, as a lot of us know, when there's competition, there will always be that one company that may fall behind and that one company that may take over the lead. And in this situation, it's Kodak who has fallen behind, and Kodak's competitors that are going really far beyond. But with Kodak being the first company to develop the digital camera, it still makes it hard for Kodak to compete with other companies as well, as long as with their competitors making much more cameras, and they have been, and while they have been around for a very long time, it is very hard for Kodak to really keep up with them, especially since that they are now falling very low to the bottom of the market, and they may continue to fall if they don't find a way to revive themselves. Anyways, this is where I'm going to end off this video. If you guys happen to enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button. And also, don't forget to subscribe because I do videos every single day. And also, don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a single video that I upload. And also, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell on my second channel. My second channel will be the third link in the description below. And if you guys would like to send me fan art, you guys can send me fan art on my Instagram. My Instagram will be the second link in the description below. And if you guys would like to, join my Roblox link will be the first link in the description below. And if you guys would like to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter will be the fourth link in the description below. And if you guys would like to follow me on Reddit, my Reddit will be the fifth link in the description below. And if you guys would like to follow me on TikTok, my TikTok will be the sixth link in the description below. And if you guys would like to check out my Facebook page will be the seventh link in the description below. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!